Hello again. I'm Dr. Ursa, and this is my ongoing review of every episode of Stargate SG-1. Okay, so I kind of left out a small detail that occurred at the end of the previous episode, but that was mostly to set up the plot of this one. When our heroic SG teams were escaping from the Jaffa back on Teal'c, we saw a Goa'uld symbiote wriggle out of a dying Jaffa and jump into the leader of SG-2 and one of Jack's oldest friends, Major Charles Kowalski. Now, before we get into the rest of it, I just want to say that this is one of those Mandela effect moments where I always think that this event happens much later than the third episode. Kowalski was one of the named characters from the film, played by a different actor, and maybe that is why I always felt like he had a bigger impact overall. Either way, Kowalski's a fine enough character and probably deserved better than he gets. Let's talk about episode 3, The Enemy Within. We see Jack and Kowalski doing their thing when the gate is attacked by Goa'uld forces, and it's implied that they've been doing that a lot recently. Thankfully, the iris holds, and more weapon blasts just splat against Earth's best screen door. Kowalski's been reporting headaches and is eventually sent to the infirmary to check this out. We see one last attack and then fade into the now iconic intro sequence. General Hammond informs Jack that someone's coming from the Pentagon to investigate Teal'c, even though Jack does his best to stand up for his new friend. Teal'c and Jack discuss strategy, and Jack tries to warn him about this upcoming investigation. This exchange ends with a touching promise to show Teal'c around the Earth, eventually. The doctor notices something odd on Kowalski's neck, and then the symbiote takes over and kills this poor guy. The team then finds Kowalski standing in the gate room just staring at the gate, seemingly without any memory of how he got there. Colonel Kennedy arrives from the Pentagon in order to meet with Teal'c, and the colonel immediately begins pressing him for scientific answers to the Goa'uld, and Teal'c points out that the knowledge was always guarded as Goa'uld magic. Jack butts in and does his best to influence the situation in favor of his friend. This does lead to Teal'c teaching us a bit about the command structure of the Goa'uld. Multiple individual leaders who all rule their own little areas, who will eventually come to know as the System Lords. This also leads to Teal'c learning that Earth is the source of all humanity from way back when Ra came and took them to be seated amongst the stars. Daniel and Sam bond a little bit, and we learn that Daniel's been running non-stop worrying about his wife Sharae. He goes to rest in a barracks room, but unfortunately discovers the doctor that Kowalski killed earlier. An MRI reveals the Goa'uld controlling Kowalski, and he makes a violent escape attempt, taking Sam hostage for a bit before eventually regaining control. He ends up restrained, and they inform him that he's been parasitized by one of the snakes. Teal'c informs them of the difficulty in removing a Goa'uld and goes with them to talk with Kowalski. He ends up getting overworked, and we see the Goa'uld take over again and make demands from General Hammond. The general then orders the surgery to have the symbiote removed. Colonel Kennedy gathers everyone together and argues that they should keep Kowalski alive as a valuable prisoner. I mean, imagine how bad this could have gone. Like, this dude would have ended up in charge of something, 2028 presidential candidate with glowing eyes, anybody? During this tense ethical debate, we also learn that the snakes have a genetic memory and are born with all the knowledge of their parents, which is a pretty neat trick. General Hammond shuts the whole thing down hard, though, with a nice little reminder that he has one of those nifty red phones on his desk that goes straight to the president. Kowalski tries to level with Jack and let him know his final wishes. This is actually a pretty touching moment overall, and Jack really shows his character by still cracking a joke and trying to make his friend smile even in face of the worst odds. After a tense operation, we see that they removed the brain snake and Colonel Kennedy's getting ready to leave. The bad part is that he got approved to take Teal'c with him. Kowalski requests a conversation with Teal'c and then requests a moment alone. As soon as the guards leave, Kowalski reveals he'd already taken full control and attempts to kill Teal'c. This leads to another escape attempt, this time showing quite a bit more success. Poor Walter even tries to stop him from dialing out and gets his arm smashed into the console for the effort. Kowalski dials Teal'c and then encounters Teal'c doing his best Gandalf impression on the ramp. General Hammond and Jack have to stay up in the control room to override the base self-destruct sequence while Teal'c and Kowalski fight it out. Teal'c is able to hold the Goa'uld's head partially into the event horizon, and Jack orders the gate be turned off, removing the back of Kowalski's skull and ending the threat. Jack mentions that his friend died on the table and shows no regrets in saving his new ally Teal'c. General Hammond is seen chatting with the president, and clearly Teal'c will be hanging around. Episode 3 ends with the now full team of SG-1 stepping out for another recon mission. I'm pretty sure they went out of their way to kill a seemingly major character early on like this to try and establish stakes, and it does work. There will be many more references to Kowalski ahead in this series, and for now it's just another driving force for Jack and co to take the fight straight to the old evil brain snakes. SG-1 does keep a continuity between episodes, but can still suffer a little bit from a need to return to a basic status quo by the end of each one. This means that something honestly as major as this gets resolved fairly quickly. I think they do reference later that deeper examinations and scans will be performed on people returning through the gate, which is good enough, I guess. Just point it out once or twice, and then you never really have to show it again. This will definitely not be the last time that we deal with someone catching a case of the Goa'ulds, but this ending will always stand out as one of the more brutal kills in the series overall. How do you think you'd feel if you were in Kowalski's situation? Would you want to risk the surgery, or try to wait it out and see what could be learned down the road? I don't want to get too spoilery, but we eventually do learn quite a bit more about the host-symbiote relationship, and this whole thing probably could have played out differently in some of the later seasons. Oh well. Pour one out next time for Major Kowalski, and then come on back for the next episode of Season 1. We're going to keep trying to go through these as quickly as I can make them. There are way too many episodes to only do one a week, so sorry about that. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss any future videos, and drop a like if you enjoyed this one. I've been Dr. Ursa, and until next time, take care.